You might have asked the question before, what really goes down in a mosque? A mosque is a place of worship for people who follow Islam. People who are Muslims, that's where they pray. A mosque. The same way Christians pray in a church and Jewish people pray in a synagogue. I know some people might not know what happens, and that's okay. I got you. So a mosque is basically a house of God. It's a house of Allah. It's one of Allah's houses. There's mosques all over the world. So is every place, church, mosque, synagogue, a place of God? Yeah, it's a place of worship. And they're worshiping God in this mosque. Within a mosque, you go inside, there's a place to put your shoes. You take off your shoes. There's these rugs the entire way through. And you step on it with your feet because you're not supposed to put the outside dirt stepping on it all over the rug and mats when you pray on and put your forehead down on. So again, a sense of cleanliness and respect to the mosque. You shouldn't be vulgar, you shouldn't be swearing, you shouldn't be going in drunk, high, off a beam. No, you should be relaxed. But again, you should have a sense of cleanliness. And that's basically meaning like you've taken a shower, you've cleaned yourself, or you do wudu, which is again the way Muslims make wudu is by cleaning themselves, where hands, mouth, nose, hair, ears, arms up to their elbows, feet. And again, it's cleaning yourself with water, washing yourself away of impurities before you enter a mosque. The primary purpose of a mosque is to pray. Muslims pray 5 times a day of the obligatory prayers, and you're supposed to pray in a mosque because it's a sense of community. It's where Muslims will go to pray. You can pray in your own home or pray on the street, pray wherever it is. You can pray anywhere. But the main place where you can congregate together and pray in is a mosque. A really cool example of this is there's a mosque nearby, Friday around like 1 o'clock, see what your local mosque looks like. It's probably going to have a bunch of people going into it and doing the Friday prayer. And again, this Friday prayer is basically obligatory for Muslim men after the age of puberty. And you go there and you can congregate on Friday with your community of Muslims around you. You listen to a khutbah. A khutbah is basically like the sermon. It's a pastor, the sheikh, talking about something in society. It could be anything. It could be from having patience and then using scripture to explain why being patient and different stories of scripture of how to be patient. And there's different types of things to do. And again, this is what goes down in a mosque on a Friday. Another thing that might happen is reading a recitation of the Quran. And the Quran is basically the holy book. It's basically, again, like a Bible or the Torah. So Muslims call it the Quran. And you will recite the Quran within this mosque. You might have study groups. Maybe someone's a new Muslim and needs a community. You go there. Sometimes even on the weekends, there's events where you bring your families and everyone brings a piece of a meal, right? Someone brings this, someone brings that, and you all share a meal together. So a mosque can also be a place of congregating together and just sharing a meal. And this again relates to those community events and being able to spend time with the community. Another thing is Sunday school. And I remember growing up in New York and in Pennsylvania going to Sunday schools. And in those Sunday schools, I hung out with other Muslims my age and we were in these classes and learning about the deen, learning about Islam, learning about what is Islam. And obviously when you're a kid, you're just learning. There's so many things you're learning. And it was an extra schooling basically where I had to go to Sunday school. But again, it was a great experience where you're learning about your culture, your values, your faith, your morals. It was cool to kind of do that. And me personally, it's another thing that went down in a mosque. Also, some things that can happen is counseling or guidance. A lot of people get married in a mosque. Sometimes people go through things and they need a support system. So they go to the mosque, they go to their community for that support. Another thing is community service. Sometimes community service can happen within a mosque. So they organize it in the mosque or they have people come by, they donate. There's so many different ways to do this. And usually mosques are actually funded by the community that goes to the mosque. They always ask, anyone's got donations, right? So there's a box on the outside and you kind of donate to the community. You donate to the mosque because again, it's not funded by just some wealthy rich person who happens to be Muslim. But no, it's funded by the community. And again, that is like the beauty behind a mosque. And 2 times a year, there'll be Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, and there'll be Ramadan prayers. So those are other things that go down in a mosque. There's these different acts of worship and prayers and different celebratory things that also happen within the walls of a mosque. And speaking of Ramadan, within the last 10 days of Ramadan, it is basically said that there's a thing basically where the last 10 days of Ramadan, you like almost sleep over at the mosque. You spend more time there because the last 10 nights of Ramadan are so blessed. And to ask God for things and ask God for forgiveness in those times is seen as such a high act of worship. And lastly, one of the things that also happens in a mosque is the funeral process, praying the funeral prayer, the janazah. And again, when someone passes away in Islam and is as a Muslim, you go pray for them in the mosque and then you bury them. So there's that prayer for them because you're praying for a fellow brother or sister. And that is the sense of community that I've always noticed about Islam and loved about it, and says that it really is about the community and the people that you keep around and being part of that community. So if you didn't know what goes down in a mosque, there are a couple things that kind of happen in a mosque. And if you want to know more, please feel free to comment down below. I'd love to know what you guys' questions are, and I'd love to answer them. But be sure to like, subscribe, share, send this to all your friends so it can boost up in the algorithm. And be sure to show some love, and I'll see you guys next Friday for another talk. See you later.